Ooh, look at us together again, Marcus Heflin.
It's always a delight, my friend. It always kicks off my day in the biggest way. Man, we missed you last week, if I'm being really like, we missed you, my friend. And I'm excited that we can reconnect and start our week off well on this wonderful Monday morning. How are you, sir?
Hey man, it's nice to see you. It's nice to be seen. I'm good. I got these lights here. I'm in Atlanta, and I'm sorry I'm not more attractive. So here we are.
Don't talk about my co-host like that. And we're gonna keep it moving today because guys, we are wanting to pour into you every single morning. And it's gonna be a quicker show with a lot of great highlights as we go through this. We have been talking about quantum leap. We've been talking about meeting your potential. Man, we're gonna dive into some really cool material. Kyle, why don't you give us the agenda for the day, please, sir?
Yeah, man. As always, we like to start foundationally, guys. This is the Grow Show, and boom, scrolling at the bottom of your screen, brand new, fresh off the presses, bold law for your consumption today. Time, guys. Time is more valuable than money. Time's more valuable than money. We cannot get time back. There's no reset button. Money can be replenished. We can always make more of that. So let's start changing our focus. Let's change our mentality on that bold law because it's one of the most, in my opinion, important ones ever. What do you think about that, Marcus?
I agree completely, man, because one, we always do an audit on our money, and yet we hardly ever do an audit on our time. And Gary reminds us that one of the best gifts you can give yourself is to live an examined life, meaning really go back and ask yourself, where did you spend that time? Another thing that comes to mind, buddy, is a lot of us are out here and we're in that growth mode, right? We're in that progress mode. Sometimes our limiting beliefs or those fears of success, failure, rejection, all these things, they get in our way, and yet, guys, honestly, those are the time wasters.
Mm,
Because the quicker we get into your full potential, your full growth, that true optimization of your life in general, then you're going to get time to do your passion projects and with family and everything on the back end. So every time we delay now, we're actually wasting that fun time that we could be living.
good point, man. You're just coming to hurt feelings today.
It's Monday, baby. Let's get it going. And part of your lead gen calls, guys, DTD2, you get to call the last names of H and V this week. So everybody that begins with an H and a V, hey, bring that list to your bold room. If you are in a classroom across the country, those dials count for your 100. Let's get to work.
Mm. All right, guys, there you go. There's the foundation. And just like you have been along for this ride so far, we are going to dive right back into Quantum Leap on not our deep dive, but what we're calling our medium dive through Quantum Leap. Marcus has done a good job taking you through some of it. And here we go, guys. Let's keep the train on the tracks. Boom. The 6 lies between you and success. Guys, the 6 lies that you may be telling yourself, you may be telling others. We are going to start with the first two today and dive on into these things. Number one, everything matters equally. Lord knows that's a lie that we keep telling ourselves. Marcus, what do you think about that?
Man, and you see it on the screen right here, guys. The Pareto principle comes to play, and we get the opportunity in step two of Bold to really dive into this in a much deeper conversation to give agents and students around the country the ability to really take this in on where it's being applied to their life and maybe where they could apply it a little bit better. And yet, when I think about this, everything matters equally. I could also correspond that to thinking that every client matters equally, that every decision matters equally, that and you could go on and on and on. Guys, there are things that weigh heavier than others. And for some reason, sometimes we take these small events or small occurrences in our life and we make a mountain out of a molehill, right? What was it, Kyle, that was said not too long ago? I think it was on the Friday call, or maybe I heard it from one of the links that you and I have discussed with Roy Vaden and personal branding and everything. He says, think of it, anything that comes into your life right now, instead of thinking about how big a moment it is in the moment, think about how significant it is over time. Is this going to matter in a year? Is this going to matter in 3 years? Like, And if it does, awesome. That could be a really big moment or decision. And yet, if it's not, maybe we're making it a bigger thing than it actually is.
Yeah, dude, to my people out there with significant others or even their kids, right? I call it, and I stole it from somebody. I'm just a hodgepodge of all the things I've taken from people over the years. My version is the 5555. Is this going to matter in 5 minutes? Is it going to matter in 5 days? Is it going to matter in 5 months? Is it going to matter in 5 years? If it's going to matter in 5 months, 5 years, yeah, man, we should probably spend a little more time on it. It's going to matter in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days. Come on, guys, let it go, let it flow. Stop wasting your valuable time on that. Everything does not matter equally. How do we think about that, buddy? Like, we got to change what we're looking at.
You're right, man. And if you do that, imagine you use the significant other example. Imagine how many small little arguments would have been overcome very fast and not lingered, or maybe taken the evening or the whole day, while you're out at the zoo in 90-degree weather, not speaking from experience whatsoever, guys, not at all. I wonder though if we could start programming that in and make it a system like Kyle has, how many more opportunities does that create for us? Because in the moment of distraction with anger, frustration, sadness, whatever it may be, we're actually missing out on the opportunity for happiness. And just like we talked about at step one, happiness is a choice. We
Mm.
get to decide what we hold on to and what we don't.
Yeah, man, that's so good. Guys, here's another way to think about this, and you can see on your screen here. Marcus talked about the Pareto principle. There's an even better one, I guess you could say, or a deeper one, extreme Pareto. It is
Hmm.
taking the tiny piece of the tiny piece, right? And one of the ways that I've been linking this for us agents to start thinking about differently is our database, right? You've heard database. Yes, Kyle, we know database. But do you have your champions in your database?
Hmm.
And are you treating them differently? So take your sphere, right? Your past clients, your influential people, and then do you have your top 50? Do you have your top 100? Do you have your top 20, whatever it is? And are you treating them like the platinum that they are in your database? These people are going to be the ones who are fighting for you in rooms that you're not even in. So are you treating them as such, man? I think that's a big way to start changing the way we contact or treat some of these people in our database.
Yeah, I always get really jealous of Kyle. From time to time, he either sends me a picture or he does a little video call with me, and he's sitting in the Admirals Club. Well, guess what, guys? Southwest doesn't have an Admirals Club, all right? And what he's talking about is like American Airlines loves everyone that uses their airline, right? And yet that Admirals Club, they get the special treatment. So put your top 100 in that Admirals Club or whatever kind of club that you want to call it, and really, really hone in on the people that are bringing you the most business.
I feel attacked right now. And just for clarity, ladies and gentlemen, it's not American Airlines, it's Delta. There's
It's
only one
Delta.
clear choice. We don't want
I'm,
that. Don't put that evil on us, guys. It is Delta. Shout out my Delta people out there. Yeah. But you're right. We got to get them the Ritz Carlton experience or the Delta Sky
Mhm.
Lounge experience. Like, how can we take it to the next level? And in the essence of time, guys, let's go to number two here. The myth of multitasking. Line number two. I know for a fact I'm a high D, and I think I have a high ceiling of achievement. And so that usually tells me this: I can do everything, buddy. I can spin all these plates, and it stinks because sometimes from my coach or other coaches or other people, they're like, hey, you do a really good job of spinning a bunch of plates at once and keeping them spinning. And that, buddy, is the wins that keeps me telling myself I should do more of it instead of do less of it, right? So if my coach is listening, go ahead.
You know what? It's one of those, buddy, that a lot of agents out there right now are $1 million producers, and they're disguising themselves as 200 and 300K producers. So in a world where I love you when I say this, and I'm coaching you to coach all them. I love you. I wonder if a lot of people are telling you you're a great multitasker that's actually keeping you from one single thing of greatness. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I
And we
sorry,
got
my internet broke up. I couldn't hear anything that you had just said on the screen with our 500 friends watching today.
Hey, and here's the thing, guys. I think we all can say exactly what Kyle has said, right? Same
Mhm.
for me. Both Kyle and I do multiple things in our lives, and yet here's the trick to it. If you've got multiple streams of revenue, if you've got multiple hats that you wear in your life, how do you focus in fully when you're in that category? Because, guys, I mean, everybody, we go to work, we do our work. We also go home. We also have our personal, like our alone time. Like, what are those categories and how are you filling those buckets up? So, had a little fun with Kyle, and we'll have a little fun with you, right? And yet, if you feel spread out, spread thin, your results may be as well. So take into consideration really deep diving into your most powerful one thing.
Yeah, and I love the graphic that they have here with
Mhm.
interrupted workflow versus focused workflow, right? We have our primary work and then we're switching. We got to reorient. There's some of that time that it takes to change task, right? And then you're doing the distraction or the next thing. And then guess what you got to do? You got to rechange back, recalibrate, and get refocused to get back into it. And so it takes much longer. This is when people ask me, they're like, how do you do all the things? And I tell them, guys, 2 hours with me and my kids is probably 8 to 10 hours with you and yours, and I don't say that mean or presumptuously. I mean that I'm not on my phone. I'm tickling, we're laughing, we're playing, I'm wearing a costume with them, or I'm at a tea party, right? I'm doing the things, and that hour, that 2 hours is much more impactful as a parent, as a partner, than someone who's on their phone or watching TV or doing something else, right? And so, guys, if that's you, start to think more about how can you be intensely focused on the task that they're doing instead of the distractions coming in and switching your task. Marcus, that's the personal side. I mean, do you see this at all when it comes to being an agent or lead generation or anything like that?
Big time, man. Big time. I mean, it's one of those things that some of us out there is still calibrating into that lead gen habit to build up the momentum and build up the bravery, if you will, to get into action some days. Man, if you shut that off because of a distraction, like within 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and your intention is to make a certain amount of calls, well, then you have to start that whole bravery process over again and that willpower and the whole thing. And we're going to talk about willpower in just a moment. It's not necessarily on will call, right? So I mean, the graphic speaks for itself. Plus, here's the other thing, buddy. If I'm doing one thing and focused on one thing, I can I can really perform a whole lot better. If my mind is thinking about five or six different things, I may try to be crossing wires and saying, yeah, like, yeah, throwing in some terminology that have anything to do with what's actually in front of me because I'm thinking about four or five different other things. And when you're thinking about that many things, are you actively listening to your clients and picking up on all opportunities? Or is it very much like what Phil Jones said? The worst time to think about what to say is in the moment. Well, I mean, what are you thinking about, right? What is your true focus when you're in the driver's seat?
Yeah, I love that. I think that's spot on. Here's another idea, too, guys, when it comes to just strictly lead generation, thinking about this, a good practice is that different sources require different conversations. And what I mean by that is we're not talking to our database the same way we're talking to an expired. We're not talking to an expired the same way we're talking to for sale by owners, and so on and so forth, buyers, listings. My question to you is, can you structure your lead generation in a way that you have an hour or 2 hour sprint towards one person or one area of people, or even a day, right? Mondays, I'm going to call database. Tuesdays, I'm going to call expireds. Wednesdays, I'm going to call for sale by owners. And so you're structured to where you're running that same conversation model, or that same style, that same energy, those same questions, and you're not being the interrupted workflow like here. Okay, I'm going to make some of these calls, then I have to switch and reorient, and then make a couple more and switch and reorient. And you go through your entire lead gen time and you've talked to like four people. you're like, man, I wonder what happened. I'll tell you what happened. You spent too much time switching and reorienting, and you didn't spend enough time communicating.
Communicating. Yeah,
Mhm.
man. And that's, you know what? You're actually breaking down in a really detailed and great way another point that Phil Jones makes. If I jet ski over with the statement real quick, send one message to more than one. Like never a mass text. And yet if you can make subsets of your database to where you're calling with like what you're saying, let me get into this flow of what value I'm bringing today. And that way I don't have to like change value, change value, change. And by default, my effort and energy go down because I'm exhausting it so much. I'm thinking so much about a different style. That's
Mm.
solid gold right there, buddy. Well done.
Oh, stop it. This whole thing, buddy, this whole thing.
Stop.
Guys, that's where we're at today, man. That's your little checkup from the neck up, getting you on business. We're going to go over the remaining four throughout this week. And yet we wanted to start poignant. We wanted to kind of get you in the flow of business on Monday. Can you take some of these practices to your work this week? Please don't listen to this and then put it on a shelf and not actually implement. Genius is the speed of implementation. So let's go out there and be a bunch of geniuses today. What's one thing that you can implement from this morning? Take 5 minutes after this call and write down the one thing that you can implement. And then here's the kicker. Do it.
Do
Just do it.
it. Just do it. It's Monday. Momentum Monday, baby.
It's Monday. So, guys, you can tell me and Marcus are traveling because we're doing like the soft yell at you, right?
Yeah.
Go do it. Go do it. Guys, man, thanks for joining us. We love to see you here, and we'll be back with you tomorrow, the next day, the next day. You're stuck with us until Maps tells us that we can't be stuck together anymore. So happy that you're with us, man.
Y'all have a
Marcus,
good day.
go crush it in the ballroom, buddy.
Let's go, baby.